Hi guys, how are you? So, I want to talk a little bit about, or I just at least want to talk or mention a little bit about like my viewpoint or how I personally feel about just the whole headship thing and the whole, you know, like roles or whatever, and letting the man take the lead. I've talked about this before. So the way that I feel about it is very different, I'm sure, than other women, but it's very much pretty much the way a Christian wife should feel and should allow the man to be the head of the household, right? I'm very typical in that way, or as far as the viewpoint goes, because of the way that I was raised, but also just because what I can see is really the best way, is God's way, and that's my full wholehearted belief. And even though I do believe in headship, and even though I do allow the man to take the lead in all of that, all of my submission and all of that I'm talking about is all willful. When I say willful, the reason why I say willful is because of my own free will. I willfully submit to, God's arrangement, his arrangement of things here on earth, which is, allowing the man to take the lead. That means the man cannot be no wallflower sitting back, trying to wait for the woman to come and pick him or choose him or come get him. Or, I had someone I was chatting with the other day, a friend, who was talking about, well, I don't have to do nothing. I don't have to come up to no woman. I'm in alignment or whatever. Okay, yeah, you're a man too. In my opinion, okay, you're a man. You're supposed to go out there and find her, look for her, go get her or whatever, because man is masculine. And believe me, this person I was talking to, who's a friend of mine, he's extremely masculine. He is extremely masculine. There's really no doubt about that by any means. But I still was not in agreement with what he said. Like, yes, even when you're in alignment, even when you are in alignment, you there are still certain roles and certain things that are, for me, in the way that I see things according to God and in the Bible, the masculine and the feminine, right? And masculine is more of the, we know that they're the go-getters. They go out, they seek, they do, they provide, they take the lead and all that. And when you watch different videos and you talk to different people or whatever, a lot of women, and some women, if you're not at all, if you're not Christian or God-minded or God-oriented or anything, you might have a hard time with the whole leadership thing, because you're, a lot of young women today, they're quick to be like, I'm not letting my man lead me. He can't lead me to anywhere but, somewhere bad. Okay, and that's obviously this is where willful submission comes in, and willfully allowing your man to take the lead, right? First of all, you got to know who it is that you're allowing him to take the lead. But when you allow somebody to take the lead, you also allow them to take full responsibility for whatever happens, right? Or they also have to take the full accountability and the blame for how they chose to lead you in the relationship, or lead you, or whatever decision is made, right? Me and my late husband, we used to always say it was 49, I had 49% and he was 51%. And basically that extra 1% was him, like me submitting to him taking the lead. And the thing about it was you still have to find somebody who you're compatible with the way he leads. Okay? That's my personal, I don't want to say secret, but that is certainly how I feel. I feel strongly about that. And the reason why is because I know my personality. I have a very strong personality. I'm a firstborn. I have a lot of things I want to do. I have things. I don't want to be bothered with a lot of stuff. Like, I don't like to argue. Like, I'm not going to argue about where things should go in my kitchen or whatever, or how I should decorate. No, I want to decorate the way I want to decorate. I want my kitchen to be a certain way. It's like certain things I'm just not about. I don't want to argue and go back and forth over dumb stuff, right? And so I know for me personally, yeah, not just any man's leadership is going to be right for me. But because I do agree with God's arrangement with that, I have to be very, very careful. And I feel like I now have to inspect men with like a magnifying glass. Like, Are you a Jekyll and Hyde? Are you going to switch up on me? Because here's the thing. My last relationships, they knew my personality. I remember telling one person I was in a relationship with, he wanted to get back with me. He circled back around and I was like, look, we've been broke up now for a minute and I'm over here independent and I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that, I do my gift baskets, I coupon, I'm always running, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't really know if you know, like, we're really gonna, vibe anymore. Like, and he was like, oh, I'm fine, I don't care, you can do you, just, I'm here to support you and blah, 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 blah. And, I know you like to do this. And then what happened? As soon as those papers, the ink wasn't even wet. Okay. And he wanted to switch up right away and try to change everything. It was almost like, yeah, now I'm the head. Now I'm going to do this. And now you got to listen to me. Well, you know what? That don't work for me. Okay. Because to me, that's lying. That's being deceitful. It's lying and it's being deceitful. It is presenting yourself as an angel of light or as somebody who is compatible with me when you know that you're not. And whatever caused that switch up, whether it be through mental health disorder or schizophrenia or, a demonic possession, whatever possessed you to switch up on me in a week, less than a week, that's not my problem. Whatever that wasn't my problem. That was your choice, your decision to allow yourself to being taken over by anger, rage, and deceitful lies, right? So that's why I say, for me, okay, I'm always very honest and upfront about who I am and how I roll. I know my personality, for the most part, is either going to, I have the type of personality, people either like me or they hate me. That's just how it's always been my entire life. You either like me or you don't. You either can deal with my talking or you can't. You either can deal with the things that I do or, how busy I am and what I do and how I am a, kind of a go-getter. I don't need a whole lot of, like, you don't have to lead me as far as, like, the things that I like leadership in is I like the man to take the lead in prayer. Okay, that's number one. I respect the man who can, stop whatever you're doing, stop the argument, stop the talking, stop stop the bleeding, whatever, or daily does not mind and wants to take the lead in prayer. Okay, who take your hand and say, we're going to pray today, at night before we go to bed or in the morning or whatever, whenever, anytime that is necessary, he knows and can see that it's time to go to God in prayer, right? I really respect that when a man can do that or when I see a man does that. My dad did that with my mom and my late husband did that with me, but he got better with that later as our marriage grew, right? But that's one way in particular that I know for sure. I consider that to be, as far as a man taking the lead and a man's lane, okay? Because I come from that old school way, like, my late husband used to always say, we used to always say to each other, he used to always tell me, stay in your lane, woman, stay in your lane, you stay on that side, stay in your lane. Okay, and so very much like that's my lane, that's your lane, right? There's certain things, but the thing about it is, in my lane, I don't need to be pushed. I don't need to be prodded or reminded to get up, to go to work, to do this, to that. I am very self-actuating, motivated kind of person, right? And I have self-discipline. I lack knowledge in a lot of things, sure, and it's great if a man can bring that to the table for me, but I don't really care if he does or not. But like in finances or in certain things, right? Like cars or whatever, right? Like I don't, it's like, okay, it's good either way, but I care more about how he leads. And for me, I need him to lead in a very soft and kind way, a gentle way, not pushy, not lying, not deceitful, because trust has to be there, right? So that's really important for me personally. Because every man, even if he's not Christian or not, or regardless of that, every man wants to be able to take the lead. Now, with my late husband, we had finally come to we came to an understanding in our marriage where, for me, I found that it was really important for him to be able to take the lead, especially in front of other people, in front of his boys or whatever. For me to not usurp his authority in front of other people. But like when we got behind closed doors or when we got home, he was always like, baby, what do you really want to do? And it was because really and truly, for the most part, he was so laid back about most things. he only really cared about how he looked. He didn't want to be perceived in some sort of way, but and so once I learned how to temper my mouthpiece in front of other people, it was way more smooth sailing for us. But that took me some time to come to that conclusion. It took me some time to understand that, and to be broke down in that way, right? But when I did, and some men, the way that they lead naturally butts heads with me, right? It's just what it is. And or they hit these hot buttons, trigger points, right? And it's really good if you can figure that stuff out before you get married, or before you get into a long-term commitment, right? Because these trigger points and these hot buttons and things like that can cause friction. And if you don't know how to handle it, and if you don't have good conflict resolution skills, you're not going to be able to move through these moments easily. And then when all else fails, okay, if you're really with somebody for the right reason, which is for love, not for money, not for, a house or car, or not just for financial gain, when you move through these moments, if you have a genuine attraction there, if there's a real genuine attraction, when all else fails, sometimes just by default, when you're like, you know what, I love you, I'm attracted to you, and I want to get it on tonight, so I'm going to go ahead and let you have your way, or I'm going to go ahead and concede to XYZ, or whatever, I'm going to stay in my lane so that we can go ahead and have fun tonight, or whatever, right? Sometimes, bottom line, that will also bring you right on back home, okay? And when you don't have that, okay, and I say that because obviously that's different for everybody, but like, you do have to find the equal ground. You have to find the good, that like perfect fit for you. Like, in other words, what I'm trying to say is, like, sometimes maybe the lines get blurred. This is my lane, that's your lane, but sometimes the lanes do get a little bit blurred, right? But when somebody pushes back and you feel, though, you can feel that tension, sometimes some certain things there's no real resolve to. Sometimes you really just can't resolve something so fast. Sometimes you just can't resolve something that night, right? But it makes it a whole lot better when you can at least pray and go ahead and, get to that good lovemaking, okay? But you can only do that, if you have a real attraction, okay? If you have a real attraction for that person, if you really desire them, if you really want them, right? And they want you, okay? Sometimes that just can help, and it's not sweeping anything under the rug or anything, but sometimes certain things just need time to get resolved or whatever, right? But in any case, I do believe in letting the man take the lead, especially for me. It's like, okay, it's like I said, I started writing this down, but I didn't finish it, but because this was the other day, I started writing down I don't know if you can see it, but his lane and her lane. I never finished it though. But to me, it's like, for me, I'm very simple like that. His lane is, anything to do with the car. He don't need to know how to fix the car. He don't need to be a mechanic or anything. He just can you just take the lead on doing stuff with the car? Because I get overwhelmed very easily when it comes to car stuff. So overwhelmed, like the other day, I had to, I literally prayed to Jehovah God to help me to take the lead, to please be my husband and take the lead with something to do with my car, right? And he absolutely listened to me. Like, by the end of that day, he literally took the lead for me. He had sent somebody exactly my way doing exactly that. Somebody who just took the lead. And I literally was like, wow, I didn't even have to worry about it, And that's why I love my God, Jehovah. I love Jehovah. He listens to you. Even the smallest prayers, he listens, he hears you, right? So, but certain things I just consider they're not my lane. It's like, I don't know what to do. I got a shelf that I got to put up. It's in this box, this little tiny box. It's supposed to be a big old shelf. I opened it up. I bought two of them. I opened it up, and it's all these pieces that look like Lego pieces. Oh Lord, I was like, oh goodness. So I'm about to take this over to my friend's house to see if her husband can do it. I don't know, because that's not my lane. I mean, my kids are gone, they're not in the house. Now my kids, my older son, easily he could have done that for me easily. Probably even my younger son, I'm sure, actually. But I don't know. I opened a box and I got completely overwhelmed. I'm like, this is not my lane. I'm like, why did I buy this? You see, so I mean, for me personally, I absolutely you know, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm totally okay with you know, staying in your lane and letting the man take the lead in lots of things that I don't even want to deal with, right? But like when it comes to, let's say, me and my time and what I do with my time, and as far as you know, me running a business and everything, if I'm with somebody who feels like, oh, I should be just at home barefoot and pregnant and not leaving the house, every meal has to be cooked fresh, and somebody micromanaging me in that way, you know, it really don't even much matter about the money. Like, even if he has enough money to keep me home and for spending money and all that, I don't like constraints on my time. I don't like feeling constrained or like I have to do anything. I feel like even God doesn't do that. He gives us free will, you know. And so I don't like when somebody leads with like an iron fist, right? They say iron fist, or like with their thumb, right? I don't like that. I don't like when people have, you know, when they have anger issues, or they're you know, they have very short tempers. I don't like when somebody lies and they're deceitful, and then they expect you to just trust them, you know, after that. I don't like when you know, I don't want anybody passive either. You know, it's not like I don't necessarily want a passive man, but I do like a laid back, low key kind of guy. You know, someone who, you know, is not full of drama, somebody who's not going to put me in competition with anybody else, or try to, because first of all, I'm not going to do that. I'm the type to just leave, like, goodbye, have your fun with whoever, but like, I'm not going to deal with that. And I'm not the type, I don't want to have to pick up the phone and be like, where are you at, or what are you doing? Because I'm not going to do all that either. I'm not going to follow behind anybody to try to make him stay with me, or, you know, see who he's calling, or, you know, see who he's talking to and all that. I'm not that way. I'm just not. If you're just going to be untrustworthy, or you're going to be doing stuff or whatever, at some point or another, Jehovah God will let me know, and I'm out. I just leave the relationship. I'm not going to stay around for that. There's too many men out there who really are loyal by nature, right? And there's just too many other good men out there, and I meet them all the time, actually, where they are satisfied with one person. I've met them, right? So, you know, it's just a matter of, you know, finding the right person with that right, you know, just that right mix of what you're looking for, that right mix of taking the lead in a gentle and kind way. And really, when you think about it, think about the way Christ Jesus led the congregation. He set the example, right? He washed the feet of his disciples, which means he was not opposed to ministering to the disciples. He was looking to serve and be of service to others, especially his disciples, right? And he didn't lose his temper with them. He was very mild with them. You know, he was always understanding of them. It wasn't until, remember, he lost his temper only in the temple when they were trying to make a mockery of God's temple, remember? And selling stuff or whatever. So other than that, Jesus Christ led in a very kind and gentle way. And these were men. Right? But he set the example of how to do it. So it's like, if you're the kind of guy that decides to switch up and become a Jekyll and Hyde, and, you know, you want to become crazy, neurotic, you know, whatever, you know, schizo, bipolar, this, that, and the other. And I'm not making fun of anybody who has those issues, okay? It's just that those types of mental disorders and addictions and things, those things need to be laid out on the table before you make a commitment, right? So the person can know if they can deal with your multiple personalities. Because if you want to have, you know, like if I'm gonna have to deal with husband A, B, C, and D, you know, or person A, B, C, and D, then I need to know that, right? I don't want to be presented with just a mask version, which is the best version, you know, and then somebody else, as soon as, you know, the switch up, you know, as soon as you feel like you got me controlled, like, you know, as soon as you got, let's say, you know, like, for example, if I had my own car in my own name when we first got married, but then you convince me to get a car in your name because you have a better interest rate, but then use that car against me at the end of the relationship whenever things aren't going your way, even though I made every single payment for the car payment and have proof of it in my bank account. But now, because you feel like it's loss of control, you're going to try to take the car away because it's in your name now. That, to me, is the kind of stuff that I don't like. I don't like that. I've experienced those types of things, and I will never do that again. I will not be making those same types of mistakes over and over and over again. I will always, for here and forever on, have my stuff, whatever certain things that I need in my name so that I can have a certain amount of independence, because men are imperfect. Right? And so, but sometimes men do decide to just go ahead. They want to lead in a certain way, or if they don't get their way, they want to go ahead and just do, enact whatever type of control just because they're not getting their particular way. Right? Well, I have learned, and I'm at an age now where thankfully I have enough, I have my health, I have vitality, I have my, still some, youthfulness left enough. I'm done with my kids or whatever. And I feel like I'm at a place now where I'm like, okay, I have all this experience now. Now I see how certain things can be, now that I've been given this crash course of dating, that I'm like, but I won't be repeating that. I won't be repeating this, that, and I have no problem, even with everything that has happened to me, I have no problem keeping my heart open, and allowing a man to take the lead, staying in my lane and respecting his leadership. And there's a lot of things that honestly I don't even care about, like when it comes to his lane. There's a lot of things that I just don't care about. Like, I really don't. Just like there's a lot of things, like sports. Sports is one of them. Like, I don't care if you want to watch sports, if you want to play sports, if you want to, whatever sport, I don't even care. In fact, 90% of the time, I don't care if you want to watch that on TV, because most of the time I'm doing something else anyway. And I know how men are. And I'm like, good, go over there and watch your football or whatever. And whatever, right? Because I'm so entertained, with typically when I have my own house or my own place, I have certain when I have the space and everything, right? I always have gifts that I'm working on. I always have, I have a place for makeup, I always make a little spot so I can do makeup in the house or whatever for my clients. I sell stuff from my house, I plan on, in my next place, I plan on having enough space to have a garden, because I want to be able to help those in need, and I want to be able to make a big garden, and possibly an event space at some point or whatever, I don't know. And then, I always have flowers to do for events for people. I have 3 coming up next year that have already been prepaid for, stuff like that, because I always do stuff. Like, I'm always busy doing something. So whether it's my flowers, whether it's makeup, whether it's sales, if I'm actually doing my JOB, selling life insurance type of thing, I'll do deliveries and take that money and, do something else with it, whatever I'm doing, I'm always doing something that I don't actually need a whole lot of entertainment from a man. I don't need him to necessarily take the lead in that. But when I am committed and with somebody, I let him take the lead, and I will submit willfully. But what I won't willfully submit to is bad treatment, abuse of any kind, mistreatment, no physical abuse, which I've never dealt with that, but no physical abuse, okay? No verbal abuse. Certainly nobody, cursing and screaming or getting angry or calling you Satan, the devil, whatever, stuff like that. Like, that's not going to work for me. I don't deal with that. Some people, because they were raised, like I know somebody who in his family, their baseline, they said stuff like that to each other all the time. And they just chalked it up to, oh, I was mad, and they just let it go. I wasn't raised like that. So for me, that's abuse. That's verbal abuse. We're not going to, stoop to, nasty name calling. You're stupid. You're evil. You're this, you're that. You're the devil, and cursing and screaming. No, I'm not going to have that spoken over me. You can keep that energy all to yourself and swallow it yourself, okay? And I'm gone. I'm out. I didn't take that with my first husband. I wasn't raised like that. My parents weren't like that. So that is not my baseline, and I won't stay in a relationship like that. The thing is, if those things were presented to me in the earlier stages when you're dating or when you're engaged, right? If those things were presented to me, I would have walked away back then. But because men seem to, not all men, but because some of the experiences that I've had where they hide some of those things for whatever reason until later on, right? And I say hide because if I provoked that or wanted to provoke that or liked that, A, I wouldn't be talking about it right now, but B, I would hang around in the room and go back and forth. If that was my baseline and that's what I wanted, I would stay in a relationship like that where it was okay. And I would engage in that type of behavior. But because I don't, that's not normal for me, and I don't, like, that's abuse to me, that's emotional abuse, I don't deal with that. I simply leave. I simply walk away. I just remove my energy forever and ever, okay? Because when I know that a person cannot have self-control, or their personality B, C, D, and E version, schizo, whatever version came out, or whatever demon hopped in that person, okay, decided to show up, that's not for me to figure out. I'm not about to hang around. Just because that happened to you, I'm sorry. I can forgive you and I'll pray for you. Absolutely, I'll pray for you. But I'm out the door, okay? Because my life is not, I'm not here on this earth and in my life, and I'm not using the remainder of my life or my time for stupid situations. I'm not. I will not. I won't be led in that way. I will not submit to that type of leadership. Jesus Christ wasn't that way. He said, get behind me, Satan. Okay? Get behind me. I'm not going to fall for that. And that's how I respond to any man who tries to lead me or have a leadership in that type of way. But do I feel and believe that a man should take the lead? Yes. And certainly in most areas and a lot of things, yes. But don't encroach upon me and in my circle when it comes to certain things that my businesses or what I do, like me, like what I do. When I make the things that I do very clear, it's very out in the open, everybody can see, it's no doubt, and I don't change. I'm like the same thing no matter if I have a piece of paper or not. I've been doing makeup since I was 16 is when I first started touching people. Okay, but I was doing makeup for my late husband when I was married to him. And I was doing makeup back then. Okay, I'm still doing makeup today. That hasn't changed. I mean, yeah, I've added different things, but from my first wedding to my late husband, I made my flowers, and I've been doing flowers ever since, and I enjoyed making bouquets. I've enjoyed it ever since. So literally, like, I have not changed. That's literally been who I am, right? So for me personally, I just know, like, just because I willingly submit to that leadership and to my lane and his lane, it doesn't mean that I willingly submit to bad treatment, or that I will allow any type of bad leadership or bad evil intended or nasty abuse in any type of way. Okay, so a lot of women, they mistake when somebody says, I allow the man to take the lead, or they mistake that meaning or thinking, well, if I let him make all the decisions, he will, or he, will lead you this way and that. Well, that means that he's responsible for the final outcome of that particular decision. If a man decides to lead your relationship by adding third parties, fourth parties, or other relationships, secret babies, whatever, okay, using all your money up and, gambling it away, throwing it away, drinking it away, or whatever, that's how he just chose to lead. That's bad treatment. That's actually abuse. And that is not something I willfully submit to. And then for me personally, those types of things are reasons to exit. And I've always been very clear, like, I don't submit to that type of leadership if that's how you want to lead. That's your decision. Because if you choose to do that, the consequence for me is I'm out. That's just, and I'm very clear about that, right? But if you choose to lead the way Jesus Christ did, respectful and loving and honest and not losing your temper, like, and not saying nasty things, speaking cursings over you, and all of that other stuff that I just mentioned, but you decide, then guess what? It'll be, for me, it's similar to like my late husband. We were together for 17 years. Okay, so when, for me personally, it's like, because I was talking with another friend, we were talking about that, And I think it's good when a person can show that they can actually be in a long-term relationship. And to be quite honest, if my late husband was still married, nobody would have a chance with me today, because I'd still be married to him. Literally, I would have not met anybody that I have met or been with or had any of these other experiences, because we'd still be married today. But, unfortunately, because I didn't date and I didn't learn about some of these things prior to being single, I kind of ran into some, craziness out there. And, and because when you're attractive, you have more chances, more opportunities to, I guess if you say, where you have these relationships and you can have these kind of crazy encounters, it is what it is, but I certainly don't plan on making some of these mistakes twice, But it hasn't changed the fact that I absolutely feel and believe that a man should be able to take the lead, and, you both should be able to stay in your lane and, and be happy. I know it can be done because I've done it. I've done it for many years with my late husband. So for sure, I know it can be done. And I am not discouraged from that at all. So, okay, guys, I have to go. This has been long enough. It's already been 30 minutes.